Angel Reese. Yes, that Angel Reese. Just got sat down, sent packing, and stamped into the WNBA's disciplinary hall of infamy. And it's not just the fan base that's heated. All across the league, players, coaches, and execs are throwing side-eye at this collapse. Honestly, you could feel it building. Let's paint it. The Chicago Sky slogging through another rough stretch, the vibe skewed, chemistry missing in action, the locker room basically a group chat you wish you could put on mute forever. If you came for the unfiltered version and not the tidy PR gloss, you're exactly where you should be. And if you're sticking around for the next implosion, you know the drill. Subscribe. Center stage in all of it is Angel Reese, rookie headline machine, algorithm darling, and suddenly the most polarizing figure wearing a WNBA jersey. The opening act was glitzy. Nil sparkle, viral moments, magazine covers, brand deals, an army of supporters who treated every move like scripture. For a hot minute, the league looked like it had another household first-name star. But here's the gritty truth about buzz. Buzz doesn't get you stops, it doesn't call a huddle, and it definitely doesn't heal a locker room on fire. Things started to fray when Reese leaned into the one reflex every PR handler dreads. She kept talking. Not the bright, magnetic confidence that powered her LSU era. Something edgier. On the record critiques of teammates. Post-game jabs dressed as honesty. Interviews with little knives tucked between the compliments. Cryptic posts that might as well have been blinking arrows. Overnight, the usual rookie turbulence hardened into a full-blown identity crisis for the Sky. Instead of saying, "This one's on me," and pulling the group closer, Reese opted for the blame route, and the descent sped up. You could practically hear the needle scratch when she called out her own locker room in public, questioning leadership, hinting that others weren't grinding, nudging the front office beneath the bus. That's not keeping it real. That's demolition from the inside. And to be clear, this wasn't one raw moment after a bad game. It calcified into a pattern, almost a persona. Cast yourself as the victim of a flawed machine while, not so subtly, torching the folks trying to hold the bolts in place. It screamed ego over ownership. And when a player lives there, every other person on the floor pays the price. Let's talk about the people she was so quick to judge. Veterans who've eaten miles of adversity and still carry themselves with composure. Respected voices who know how to steady a team in a skid. They rarely aired anything out, because professionalism still counts. But if you listen closely, insiders said the tension was thick enough to slice. How bad? The coach had to step in. Not a whisper behind closed doors. A public half-game suspension. Usually that kind of penalty reads like a compromise somewhere between "we expect better" and "let's not escalate." But this time it was deliberately loud, pointed, unmistakably a line in neon. And still, the message didn't land. Or it landed and got ignored. The aftermath wasn't a course correction. It was more of the same. Coded captions, reposted hype as armor, thinly veiled shots. They turned into something much bigger. Separation. Let it settle. Chicago didn't just bench their hot buzz rookie. They severed the tie. In a league that craves stars and storylines, that's not an impulsive tap of the eject button. That's deadbolting the door and changing the code. Fans split in real time. Some shouted injustice, dragged the franchise online, and spun this as the silencing of an outspoken woman who refused to play nice. Others asked a quieter, tougher question. When did accountability become a scandal? Here's the part you can't launder with captions. Angel Reese wasn't sidelined for confidence or candor. She was removed because the net effect on the team was toxic. There's daylight between leadership and volume. And if you're searching for a foil, you don't have to look far. Caitlin Clark. Clark, the rookie phenomenon in Indiana, has been doing exactly what Reese could have done. While Reese subtweeted, Clark shouldered. While Reese pointed outward, Clark took hits that weren't entirely hers. The contrast is brutal in its clarity. Clark is building a culture. Reese was sawing through hers. This isn't a cartoon nice versus mean trope. It's about the spine of leadership. Clark isn't flawless and she's taken real punishment, on the court and online, but her default is to show up, own the rough edges, and pull people with her. She understands the math. Talent without cohesion spends its gifts. Reese wanted the spotlight even as the stage buckled. Now she's out. Chicago future. Done. Trade chatter? Everywhere. Front office patience? Empty. And the quiet from the locker room says the rest. No farewell posts, no soft focus, we'll miss you. When a room truly moves on, it doesn't rehearse goodbye speeches. Irony loves moments like this. Reese wanted to be the face of a team, of a movement, of a league. But being the face requires more than magnetism and metrics. It requires humility, listening, and the ability to say, I messed that up. If this season taught anything, it's that Angel Reese wasn't ready to carry that weight. Nobody's denying the skill. She has presence, flair, and a marketable aura that makes brands drool. But pro sports aren't merely optics and box scores. They are interdependence. Until she learns that, blow-ups like this won't be the last. From the sky's vantage, trimming chaos might be the healthiest thing they've done all year. If shedding a few weeks of publicity burn means rebuilding trust and process, so be it. In the long arc, culture outlasts clout. Chemistry outperforms clout. And no follower count repairs a group that's splintering. Where does Angel Reese go now? Maybe a trade. Maybe a long stretch of honest reflection. Maybe a heavily produced redemption arc with media soft focus. But unless the posture changes, how she leads, how she treats the people in the trenches, another roster will eventually feel the same heat. The real moral? Ego has a price tag, respect is earned currency, and most valuable players tend to be the ones who don't need to announce they're valuable. Now, to the audience. Did Chicago make the right call? Or did a rookie stumble get blown to cinematic proportions? Drop your take. This is far from over. And if you enjoy watching basketball's human drama unfold from your couch, you know what's next. Tap subscribe. You'd think an in-season exit would trigger a personal reset. Pause, take stock, apologize. Maybe a statement about reflection and growth. Not here. What followed looked like more of the same. Cryptic Instagram energy, fan reposts used like shields, empowerment quotes sharpened into daggers. Reese still framed herself as the betrayed party, as if the sky should have swallowed the storm and let her run the ship. As if disruption equals dynamism. Spoiler. It doesn't. What she's missing is simple and unforgiving. WNBA teams aren't built to orbit drama. This isn't college, where charisma plus a deep March run can smooth over structural cracks. This is the professional tier. You can't alienate peers, undercut your coach, and torch your bridge to management, then act shocked when your keycard stops working. That's not edge. That's miscalibration. Meanwhile, Clark keeps taking hits in Indiana like it's a contact sport, gets nitpicked for everything from her reads to her reach, and still refuses to blow. If anyone had a reason to snap, it's her. Instead, she's making strategic moves while Reese flips the board the second the layout isn't flattering. And yes, Reese's supporters are loyal and loud. They rush to cry bias, favoritism, agendas. But this wasn't a plot. It was consequence. When multiple teammates are reportedly exhausted by the aura, when the staff has to draw a boundary, when the front office decides your presence is a net negative, those aren't haters. That's a mirror. Zoom out and the ripple effects are plain. Morale tanks. Trust evaporates. You can't breathe in a room where every private moment might be converted into a barbed caption. Veterans won't co-sign that. They've lived real leadership, surviving ugly losing streaks without self-cannibalizing. They won't spend the back half of their careers babysitting a brand. And the criticism Reese lobbed wasn't even the constructive kind. There's a sharp difference between accountability and deflection. Was she playing at a level that justified the noise? Stretches? Yes. Franchise proof? Not yet. Certainly not so transcendently that the culture should be asked to bend. If anything, her uneven nights made the finger-pointing look like smoke and mirrors. What's wild is how long it seemed like the spotlight might shield her. For a while, it did. Her base rode with her no matter the weather. But even the most devoted supporters reach a question. What are we defending? Talent. Always. Toxicity. That's a different ballot. When a locker room feels like it's rotting from tension, nobody cares how many views you rack up. They care whether you're sprinting with them when you're down 20 in the fourth. Too often, the answer read as no. So the Sky did what teams with a spine have to do. They pulled the cord. Sometimes losing a player is how you save a team. Kudos to them for looking past short-term optics and choosing the boring, brave thing: stability. Did Reese accept it and pivot? Show some humility. Not exactly. She doubled down, pointier captions, more misunderstood, queen posture. That angle only works when there's substantial growth underneath. The more she posted, the clearer it looked. Not misunderstood, just unwilling to evolve. And evolution is the line between potential and legacy. Back to Clark, not to flog a rivalry, but to make the lesson plain. She's been hacked, shoved, nitpicked, and memed, and still keeps her composure. Her talent is obvious. Her mindset is the difference. She answers jawing with production. She speaks to teammates, not about them. Flair is fine. Boldness is welcome. But leaders bring people along. They don't bulldoze them. So what's the path forward for Reese? That's the seven-figure question. Execs are watching. Players are watching. Her next chapter will either reopen doors or turn her name into a cautionary slide at rookie orientation. If she lands another shot, the leash will be short. Every practice rep, every huddle, every presser will be weighed. If she walks into the next room with the same chip and me-first posture, the ending writes itself. No player is bigger than the team, here or anywhere. There will always be another rookie with sparkle. The ones who endure are the ones who know when to shut up, suit up, and lift the people next to them. Reese stands at a hard fork. Option 1. Take the loss, internalize the lesson, return sharper and steadier. Option 2. Keep spinning inside an echo chamber until the phone stops lighting up. Honest wish that she figures it out. The league could use her gifts, her motor, her edge, her market pull, but not as a wildfire that leaves scorched earth. Because underneath the headlines is an old truth. You do not win alone. If Angel Reese wants her name etched among the greats, not just a flashing moment or an endless controversy loop, she has to learn that truth fast and live it faster. Let's get specific about Chicago for a beat. This franchise has been clawing to find its rhythm. Flashes of promise but too many flat notes. That's a perfect place for a real leader to rise. A unifier who quiets the noise, taps the brakes on the drama, and helps build something repeatable. Instead, Reese treated the floor like a stage. Frustration happens. Everyone earns a bad night. But the route is private conversation, not public subtext. She aired the laundry with a smugness you'd expect from reality TV, not a pro huddle. She spoke over the grind like the grind didn't include her. And every time someone tried to redirect, the volume went up. Worse, it wasn't productive critique. There's accountability, and then there's shade to distract from your own misfires. Because if we're honest, was the output consistently at a level that validated the smoke? She had moments, yes. But not an every-night tone setter. Not a culture bends toward me force. Inconsistency plus finger-pointing reads like dodging, not leading. Still, for a while, the aura worked. Fans caped for her. But timelines eventually evolve from blind defense to concerned honesty. I love her, but this isn't it. You can feel the current shifting. Meanwhile, Clark is building something in Indiana. Incrementally, stubbornly. You can dislike the hype and still respect the craft. She's proving you can be the lightning rod without becoming the tornado inside the building. Teammates look better. The system tightens. Even critics start conceding, okay, there's more here than a headline. And that's the lesson that stings. Leadership isn't loudest wins. It's most reliable wins. Clark eats blame after losses, passes praise after wins, creates oxygen for others to breathe. That's what scales a locker room. Reese, by contrast, created a spotlight so blinding nobody else could stand under it without getting singed. Now here's the heartbreak. This could have gone differently. Had Reese taken that half-game suspension as a mirror, apologized, pulled the team together, swallowed pride, she might have flipped the narrative into the comeback of the season. Instead, she went the other way, double down, triple down, and now she's out, staring at the hardest image rehab of her career. Don't think the rest of the league missed this. The W is tight-knit. Word travels with receipts. Once your name equals difficult, the label lingers. Somewhere right now, coaches and execs are asking a basic question. Who do we build around? And at this moment, Caitlin Clark's profile is showing up in those conversations far more than Angel Reese's. Because this league isn't just about making shots, it's about making teams better. It's about lifting people, not dragging them. So what's the real takeaway? Beyond the mess and memes, there's a warning embedded here. Talent gets you in the door. Character keeps you in the room. Social momentum is fragile. Teammate trust is priceless. And the way you ride out adversity is the definition. Reese had a chance to rise, to prove she was more than a trending topic. She dropped it. Now she's watching from the periphery while the schedule keeps moving. Let's be blunt, this has felt like a slow-motion crash, visible to everyone and somehow inevitable. And credit where due, Angel Reese has presence for days. She's got that it that brands crave and audiences notice. That was never in question. The issue is the belief that presence is the job. It isn't. Not here. Not now. The WNBA is built on professionalism, consistency, and trust. You don't get graded on sass and stare-downs. You get graded on whether the person next to you can count on you. Chicago needed a glue player with a megaphone, not a megaphone that dissolved the glue. This roster had hints of what could be, but needed someone to gather the threads, not unravel them. Reese didn't like the arc. Fine. But the way out is closed-door honesty, not open-door spectacle. Repeatedly choosing the latter isn't bravery. It's betrayal of the group. So the Sky did the unglamorous smart thing. They cut the wire that kept tripping the breaker. And when the response from Reese was to posture harder, more captions, more self-canonization, the picture clarified. Being misunderstood only works when you're actively learning. Otherwise, it reads like refusal to grow. Growth is the separator. Always has been. One last time to the comparison, not as gossip but as guidance. Clark gets hammered, criticized, baited, and answers with execution and composure. She trash talks with read and react and backdoor cuts. She addresses issues inside the huddle. You can be flashy and still be a builder. Real leaders create on-ramps. They don't roll tanks. So, where does this leave Angel Reese? With a choice that matters. She can recalibrate, seek out mentors who'll tell her truths, and re-enter the league on a humility-first mission. Or she can keep curating the brand and watch opportunities thin. No one is bigger than the group. Not here. Not anywhere. New stars will always arrive. The ones who last know how to be heat without becoming wildfire. We're rooting for the better version. The W can use her edge, her rebounding, her motor, her magnetism. But the fire has to warm the room, not burn it. All right, your turn. Is there a redemption arc in Angel Reese's future, or is this the start of a long fade? Would you take the risk in your locker room, or would you ask for a different piece at the deadline? Tell us. And if chaos, clapbacks, and behind-the-scenes truth are your sport, hit subscribe, because this ride is nowhere near finished.